So I recently got asked a rather interesting question by someone on YouTube. So then I'm currently interviewing for a senior role at AWS, and is it appropriate to call out something that hasn't been done well by AWS in my opinion and recommend an alternative in the interview process, or is that too forward? And to be straightforward here, in my opinion, the way he framed the question, the beginning had a big question mark for me, because it was it contained a strong indicator that you might be critical of your employer even before getting the job. And this is not about talent. This is about attitude, culture fit. Well, I'm not even sure it's culture fit, because if you say culture fit, you could argue, yeah, but Amazon used to be called a sharp elbows culture. So yeah, from the cultural side, you might say, yeah, it's a good one. But from experience, I would never hire someone who's critical of my own business in a job interview. And I'm telling you right now, simply because you will see that it might seem counterintuitive to you as someone not working in HR, but these type of people are too dangerous, to be honest with you, are too dangerous to work with. Simply because it's not you. I'm being skeptical as to what extent they would go, to what lengths they would go to impose their point of view. Because if you're critical at this early stage of the process, there might be something else hiding here. And I'm specifically talking about here about the potential to be a toxic employee. So putting things this way will not fly, in my opinion. Now, there's also another discussion: whom you're selling this to. For example, if you're talking to a future hiring manager and you have a very technical conversation with them, and in the middle of that technical conversation, you feel like you can throw this in, that you could do it 10 times better than what they already have, in my opinion, yes, that would definitely be a plus. The thing is, I coach behavioral interviewing. So in a behavioral interview, that's the non-technical part. So if you get in the deep level of detail and you bring it as a technical argument, for sure it would fly. But if you talk like this with an HR person, in my opinion, it will never fly this way. So the main idea I wanted to transmit here in this video is that it's oftentimes not whether you should or you shouldn't say something, but whether if you are capable of selling yourself on that something, right? So being capable of selling yourself on that one thing is, it matters for you preparing this in advance, seeing if you'd be comfortable talking about this in the first place, if you find the right words, because there's also a challenge. Notice again in the question how they framed it, and also how they reframed it after I gave them my reply. Second of all, whom you're talking to. Again, hiring HR people are a lot more sensitive to these things than technical people are. And also the seniority of this role. Of course, for more senior roles, this is more likely to fly than for other types of roles. And last but not least, and this will be another thing you must really keep in mind going into job interview, and especially for senior roles, is what's your state of mind going into that interview? Are you a positive thinker, or are you a negative thinker? Because in case you're wondering, companies rarely hire, stressed out people. So they don't like people who have stress on their hands. And I remember I once talked to someone leading the IT department of a very well-known non-profit organization. It was obviously not IT, but he was leading their whole IT efforts. And because he had fallen out with some manager, they were basically reassigned to another department in the company. And basically they said, okay, you must change. And for this, they were looking for a new job. But from the first 5 minutes of the conversation, I immediately spotted they have a terrible attitude towards the conversation at all, and towards the job that they're applying for. And they were not positive thinkers at all. They were all the times negativists, stress, to put it mildly. Now, the problem with this approach is that no matter how well you choose your words, sooner or later in a sixth round, even virtual on-site interview, it will show up at least once or twice. And that's all you need, for a good company, for a good employer to be seriously skeptic, to get seriously skeptic about you as a candidate. And since these people are actually quite good at interview, they will talk between each other. So they say, hey, what do you think about that guy? What do you think about their attitude? What do you think their stress levels? What do you think, do they have potential to become a toxic employee? And this is what HR departments do, for a living. So that's one of their major characteristics. So in my opinion, there's also this unfortunate scenario, when you must, in my opinion, take your time to get well in your head first and only then apply for this given job. But as a general idea, I believe these are unique opportunities for you to sell yourself with these events, and especially with failure stories. Failure stories are excellent ideas to talk about in a job interview, to the extent, of course, you prepare for them and you employ a customized approach depending on your interviewer and, of course, depending on the type of job that you're applying for. So there you go. I hope you find this useful, and thank you very much for watching.